Hi, Ginger Cook here. Today an acrylic painting tutorial is going to be a Japanese bridge and flower garden with a little stream. We're going to show you how to trace the picture on an 8x10 canvas. This is going to be part of our garden series, which we have many paintings that go with this in our Art Academy. Follow along, you're going to love it. It's one of my new favorites. I hope it's yours.
And now, without further ado, I have the distinguished honor and privilege of presenting to you the Queen of Color, the Mother of Artists, globally acclaimed, award-winning master acrylic artist, and the star of our show, Ginger Cook, as she once again mesmerizes her audience with the daring do's and don'ts of painting with acrylics.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching this for the first time, welcome to our acrylic painting tutorial premiere, which means John and I are traveling, and in honor of our trip to Japan, I thought a Japanese garden painting tutorial was in order. This is going to be a step-by-step lesson, and the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is to trace it on, all right? So in the link below, you're going to take you over to our Pinterest page and just print yourself out a black and white photo of the picture, 8x10, okay, just like that. Now I know in the past I have shown you Sorel transfer paper. I mean, they don't pay me to say this. I mean, this is just stuff we use, but you may not have any. And I thought today what I would show you, if you didn't have this stuff, you still need to trace something on, what do? So we've covered this one or two times, but let's just talk about it again. What you're going to need is a good piece of paper, and that you've printed on, and you're going to want a pen so you can tell where you're going when you've traced it. And I would say a light piece of soft chalk. All right, that's the first thing you're going to want.
Well, does that really depend on your underpainting?
Well, no, you know, sometimes certain underpaintings, the Sorel doesn't work as well, and sometimes if you have a really large painting, I'm telling you, chalk always works. Let me put it this way, chalk always works.
Well, I'm saying if you had like a yellow background, you would not be using a yellow chalk.
No, but I mean, this goes without saying. You got to have
well,
there's a
does
whole,
it go without saying?
Yes, it does, John, because there's a whole row of colored chalk here. I'm going to pick yellow. You could pick white. Obviously, it's got to be a lighter piece of chalk, yes?
Okay.
And here's the painting, okay?
That's a
that we're
beautiful
gonna do.
painting.
This is gorgeous, isn't it, with the sunlight? We're going to show you how to do this transparent mixing white to get that sunlight on the bridge. This is really, really a cool painting. And if this seems familiar, it is, because we have done in our original garden series, I've got a lot of paintings that go with this. In fact, a painting we did earlier this summer is a different garden with a similar type bridge. And this is in our Art Academy, Fine Art of Acrylic Painting. And if you look at some of the other art that we've got in our garden series that goes with this, and I'm just going to take a minute to show you as the time goes on, the different ones. Look, couldn't this all be in the same?
Oh, that would look great together,
same place together, see? I mean, as you can't believe, we have probably a dozen paintings that all group together in this style. And I think that this is a neat one. If you're just new to us and don't know about this, these are fun to do, and you can have a whole collection. You can just create a garden in your home with these tutorials. So that being said, I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to take a piece of chalk, and what I'm going to do is now this is very shiny paper, John. Very, very shiny, and the chalk doesn't want to work on it. Or maybe this part will work. There we go. This wasn't working at all at first. But let's see. There we go. I got a piece of...
Does it stay on? Rub your finger over a little bit. Is it going to stay there?
Yeah, I think it's going to stay. It's going to stay.
Okay.
All right. I'm not saying this isn't messy. And you could put a piece of newspaper underneath it or something like that. Does anybody still read the newspaper? Do you even get a newspaper?
Yeah, my newspaper's on my, it's on my iPad, so I should do this on top of my iPad?
Yeah, some sort of funny thing is when I was learning home economics in the 9th grade in school, in junior high, they had us put on the counter, you were supposed to take newspaper and put it down on the counter, because you know that's very sanitary. Of course, you don't get newspapers anymore. It's supposed to be very sanitary. And then you went ahead and put your mixing bowl and your flour and your sifter all on top of that, and then you never wiped off the counter. You just threw the newspaper away. And
Okay, who said that newspapers were sanitary?
Well, they said
I was
that.
a newspaper boy. I am here to tell you.
There's supposed to be the inside with the ink and stuff, and then they said, you know, people had babies on newspapers because it was so sanitary. Don't you remember this stuff?
I'm
Remember
sorry, being a newspaper boy and knowing what newspapers went through? No.
Well, maybe not the front page, but apparently if you open it up on the inside,
I'm
no?
sorry.
No, huh? Well,
No.
all right, do you see what I'm doing, kind of rubbing it in here like that?
I certainly wouldn't recommend that in today's day and age.
Well, anyway, that's what they used to say. You guys remember
And
this?
who's they?
Well, I don't know. They said it, you know?
And who they was?
Well, my mother said it. And she heard it from somebody else. And of course, Mother thought that if you wore green on Thursdays, that told the whole school that you were a lesbian. And if you wore black on Fridays, then you were announcing that you did tricks on the side. So I thought...
Is that card tricks?
No, I don't think so. And I just remember being so frustrated with her and saying something like, well, you know, you're either lesbian or you're prostitute. Kind of pick one, right? I don't think you can be a lesbian prostitute. I don't think there's a lot of customers for that. But, you know, I think you'd go broke, right? Be pretty sad on all occasions. But she thought my humor was less than funny. And you notice I did 2 coats on this, right?
I noticed that.
So I
And
just...
you're really making a mess.
I know.
I really wish I had some newspaper.
I'm sure you do. So, and then just look at that. So,
That's just perfect. That's just perfect.
well, I'm saying you could use the transfer paper. I'm not saying you couldn't, right? But you don't have any. So you're ad-libbing here, right?
Well, our yellow was about gone anyway, so what the heck?
So,
So
here,
we take
here's
out
my
our trustee's tub of
my
towels.
trusty tub of towels and clean this mess up, right? Get it off my fingers, get it off of here. You're going, what are tub of towels? It's these things, you guys. Remember, they don't sponsor us, but occasionally they send us a tub. And I
A
just,
tub or two.
that they're really good for cleaning paint off your hands and they clean up
And chalk.
everything.
Apparently chalk off your...
Apparently chalk off of here because, like, again, we had it was messy. We know, this was messy. So
All
just,
right, so you've put chalk on the back of your
I did.
black and white printout.
I did.
And we suggest black and white.
And yeah, just easier to see it. And then we're gonna put this down, and then we're gonna do a quick test. Oh, did it work? Yes, it did.
Okay, we can't see that again. As
Well,
usual.
trust me, it worked.
Oh, here we go. Trust me again. Every time she says something, oh, trust me. Trust me. Oh, you've got to trust me. Whoa! Is it they that's telling me to trust they?
You have to trust me.
Trust
Moi.
you.
Me,
Moi.
myself, and I. You're going to trust me, darling, because Ginger knows. What Ginger knows, Ginger knows. And the books, no argument. You just trust me.
What kind of canvas is that you're using today?
This is a little 8x10 canvas, and we got that somewhere. Where did we get that? An
We
art
got
store?
that an art company was moving and they didn't want to move them. This is a Frederick's recyclable canvas.
Yeah,
It's a solid board.
Yeah, and it was really expensive. We got it for half, like for a
No,
few
no, we got it for $3.
like $3.
They were
but I think
$20.
they were $20 and they couldn't sell them. So, but $20, $3, we bought some. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use the big thing you want to trace on here is your bridge, yes and yes?
But
So
I think you want to trace on anything you need a reference to find.
Well, that's true, but probably the bridge is your number one happy thing
That's
you
going
want
to be
to trace on.
your most challenging piece to do.
Well, it barely shows up, John.
We're not seeing it at all.
Well, I'm barely seeing it. Let's see, let's put my glasses on. Does that help? Not so much. All right, I think it's this shiny paper, this shiny typing
No
paper
way.
that you got.
You've got.
I do.
How can it be? Because you've got the paper. You've got it on there.
I'm just saying. I think it's that. All right, so let's try white chalk. Maybe it's the chalk. You know where my new pastels are?
What are you using there? What are those
Oh,
called?
I don't know what those words are. Just some chalks. but this is not going to work. I think it's the paper. This chalk has worked for me 1,000 times. So where's my new pastels? You know, the ones that I use all the time, the new pastel chalks. This is good. We're going to put little containers of things. Because honestly, this is tragic that this isn't working. This is very, very, very shiny paper. And it doesn't seem to like the, well, we would say pause after these important messages if we had any messages we could give you, but we don't. So we had some new pastel chalks. We had them around here someplace. We don't know where. They were very soft. There's nothing in here. See, those chalks are not, that's not doing it. And I have some very, remember I have just piles of those new pastel chalks somewhere. Oh boy, here's one. See if this will work. Yeah, see, let's try this.
That's going to be great. You're going to be able to see that?
I don't know, but it's, look how, see the difference between a new pastel chalk and another than this other?
We don't know what that brand is that you got there?
Oh no, these were just some chalks that somebody sent us. And they're fine, but they're not a new pastel. So let's see if I can get this to work.
So you want to make sure you check our Amazon store, gingercooklive.gallery/Amazon.
Shake that over my shoulder. Let's try this again. Let's see if I'm getting anything.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
see now that's showing up. I'm telling you, it's the chalk.
So you can't just use any chalk. You have to have
a very soft chalk, okay?
So, and we recommend the new pastel.
Yeah, I like those. Yeah, and they have an Amazon affiliate, you know. I mean, sometimes you'd think it's just, well, Ginger did it, why doesn't it work for me? Well, it doesn't always work for me either, friends.
As you can see.
Guess what? So
what do
all
the
right.
rest of those new pastels are? We'll
I don't know.
them
So
later.
let's try that. Let's see if this is going to work. Well, yeah, I can see it now. All right, so it's going to work. We're going to just say, here's our, let's try this again. And here's one of the things you do is you change colors. If you're using the same piece of paper to trace again, use a different color pen so you can see where you've been, right? So we're saying, here's the bridge. Okay. Yeah, see, I can see that. And again, it's the chalk. So that's sort of funny, isn't it? Well, I think that, you know, a lot of people would just edit this stuff out. We can't. We're live, sort of. We're close to semi-live, so we can't edit anything. So you get to see all the foibles.
All the what?
Foibles.
The foibles.
Foibles.
You know, somebody made a comment on our Mulberry Hill
Yes.
lesson.
Yes.
And on the Academy, that beautiful lesson.
Yes.
They go, I love how you show each and every step you make and the mistakes you make and how you correct them. It gives me reassurance that I too can make a mistake and recover.
Well,
She
there
goes,
you
a
go.
lot of other artists will speed paint through it or edit that stuff out. She goes, it's just so reassuring that I can do this. And I thought,
Honestly,
well, that's an
that's
interesting
nice.
comment.
Isn't that's a good comment? Yes
Yeah.
and yes.
Because we don't edit out the stuff.
We don't edit it out because I think if it's, you know, I think it's important to see how you can recover stuff. So I'm going to do just a straight line here for where the trees go. We're not going to draw them in.
No, you just need an idea.
You
Again,
just need a kind of an idea that where this is a tree here.
you want
and
to
you-
outline your bush there on the flowers over there on the left?
Well, I mean, you know, you've got a bush here.
Okay. Well, I see. I
mean-
would have done that.
Would you have? Would you have felt that was important?
Well, that to me is a key part.
Oh, see, I would have just put the bush in because when in doubt, throw in a bush. But
That's usually what you do.
I don't know if I
You want to
want to
hide
say
something?
it that way.
That's the perfect place to put some flowers.
Yeah.
Don't
there
want to
you
talk
go.
about it? Put some flowers.
There, you know, there. So, all right, so I've got this, and I know that, oh, here's another tree here, and we're going to do this much with our sky. All right, so that's, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but that at least,
That gives you,
I
that
feel
is a
that-
cheap, inexpensive way
see,
if you have the new
that
pastel
did get
chalk.
it in there. See, that
And we
got
can
it
see
on.
that. We can even see that.
Yeah, see, that got it on there. And honestly, I think it was the shiny paper, and I think it was the chalk.
I think it was the chalk or the shiny paper.
Well, anyway, there you go. So then you're saying, let's you just keep hiding my stuff. Now I can't reach this. What is this? So that if you have any key piece that's not showing up well, you know, you can take a lighter pencil, pastel pencil and just put that in there. If you're worried you're going to lose something like that, you know, just sort of put in what you have to, what you absolutely have. Just go ahead and go over it again. That doesn't hurt, and certainly doesn't hurt, you know. And I want to make a point on this bridge because I've seen other bridges come back. When you put the boards on the bridge, they're going to have to be parallel to the bottom and top of the canvas. So these boards are going to be going this way, okay? And they don't go all the way up. They end right here. So here's, if this is half of the bridge was like a clock and this is midnight, they end about 11 o'clock, okay? And so this, does that make sense? If this was a clock, the bridge was a clock?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay,
I'm not sure why midnight versus noon.
So, I mean, so now you can kind of see what we've got. Okay. Well, this is good. I'm glad it didn't work the first time because then you're going, wow, it didn't work for her either. Gosh, I had problems. I wondered what I was doing wrong. Well, could be the chalk, yeah? So new pastels they're about $1 a piece when you buy them. $1 to $2, depending on where you buy them. They last a long time, and they are very nice soft chalks. A lot of my videos, I use them. So let me just, were you showing the palette too?
No, not at this time. I'm getting ready to show the palette.
I'm going to get ready to show the palette. Incidentally, for those of you who are Academy members, you know every week we also release a new video. This parrot is the newest video.
Well, we can see his tushy. Let me back out a little
back out. This parrot is our newest release
for
our Art Academy. I love this, and I have a cool traceable. We've got this as an intermediate lesson because I've got a beautiful traceable for this. He's really easy to paint. Isn't this gorgeous? And you know, Academy memberships, you can sign up for a month. Comes with personal art coaching. Really cool. So
Polly the pirate parrot.
Pirate parrot. I think
Polly the pirate parrot of the Caribbean.
Yeah, isn't that fun? I love this one. So that's, people always say, "What are you doing in the Academy this week?" You're getting the preview. That's what's going in there.
Don't tell anybody. It's a secret.
So, all right. So now the first thing we're going to do is probably get a little color wheel out. We don't need this chalk anymore. Just put all that up there. Get this little painting right here next to it so we know what we're painting. We can put the pen away. There. Now.
Paints.
So,
all right,
we're going to put the paints out. While I'm putting the paints out, John, do you want to share with them something about our personal art coaching?
I can't quite do that yet because it has a process.
Oh.
Let me get it in here though.
Okay.
Let me do that.
So John can be doing that. This is CAD Red Medium.
It may process fast. I'm not sure.
Well, we're going to, at some point we'll show it to you. It's a very short clip on personal art coaching. I think you're going to be surprised. It's one of our new clips on that.
It's one of our new favorites.
What did we do with the roll-up things?
New favorite.
This is my whole life. What did we do with, right? Where did
here we go. It's ready to go already.
Is it?
Okay. Okay, quiet on the set, people.
I want my roll-up thing.
You what?
My roll-up, tube roll-up thing. Just, where's my tube roll-up thing?
Where'd you have it last?
I don't remember. That was like yesterday. Thank you.
Gee, good thing I'm here.
Yeah, isn't it? Really? Sorry. Here's my tube roll-up thing. If you
have you never used one of those? And there are different ones. Wait a minute. You got to do it where I can see you.
No, because I don't want to spray.
Yeah,
here's my tube roll-up thing, and I've got actually a video even on YouTube on how to use these, but you know,
they're handy.
My tube roll-up thing. The ones I don't like are the all-metal ones. If it doesn't
we had
roll,
one of those that didn't work.
Yeah, if they don't roll up, I had one for like 25 years. If they don't roll, your paint tube doesn't roll up easier, you've got a defective one. So here, let's just put that here, some ultramarine blue, and.
So you're going to discuss the colors as you're putting them out?
I'll tell if you want to show a little bit about personal art coaching. I will put some colors out, and then we'll say what they are. I think you don't need to watch me put them out.
And then we'll talk about it. Okay, just one. It's a 20-second little spot. Hold on for this.
I am never going to paint another vacation photo again. This one looks like crap. Why did I think I could ever learn to paint?
Not every vacation photo makes a great piece of art. Send your photo in to Ginger with personal art coaching before you pick up your brush.
How
There.
fun! How fun was that? Yes and yes. Was that
What do you
fun?
guys think of that little ad, huh?
I think that was fun. And by the way, if you think you ever need scissors or art supplies or canvases, check out our affiliate link on Amazon, gingercooklive.gallery //
Just do slash.
Just a
we,
slash?
We don't have backwards and forwards anymore. That goes back to DOS days. You're really going back in time today, aren't you?
Who was DOS? Did we know DOS? I've never heard of DOS. Anyway, // Amazon takes you right to our affiliate store where Sorel transfer paper can be found. And new pastels
can be found.
And canvas and paper and all kinds of stuff and brushes.
And scissors in case you have one of those days.
At least you're having one of those days, right?
How much purple are you going to put out? I'm scared.
Like about that much.
Okay.
There.
Now, somebody asked me the other day, how do you get the last bit of the, you throw a tube of paint out, and the very collar on these metal ones, there is still a ton of paint in there.
We're going to put some phthalo green out too. We have phthalo blue. Let me just move this out of the way. We're going to also put out some phthalo green.
That's become one of your new favorite colors.
Well, it's just you can mix a lot of greens, but it's very easy to use. And
yeah, you open the tube and squirt it out. That is really
yes,
easy. That's very easy
true.
to use.
Well, there's something about John. I mean, he's quick on the uptake, isn't he? I mean, he just, here's a little magenta. I mean, you got to hand it to John. He really, discerns things and shares it for sure. You hear me going, I want a little bit of transparent mixing white. This is where my...
And a little titanium.
A little titanium.
Most people put caps back on their paints instead of having to squirt them out.
They do. They do.
I know, it's a time saver though, isn't it?
It's just time saver. Who needs it, right? Just, here we go, last of the white, right? This will be probably, I've been nursing this paint tube for the longest time. Think I can get any more out of this?
Oh, I bet you can.
All right. Here's a tip. Don't point this at anyone and do it. You can shoot paint clear across the room. Unless, of course, you just want to... there we go.
Oh, you're putting it above the label. Okay.
There, look at that. Look at that. I think this little paint tube's had it, unless you want to split it open.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll split that up. What I had to do to get it out of there, I just forced that thing in there and split it open.
Okay, well, some of us might get injured playing with knives. Maybe not. Some people shouldn't have...
scissors.
Or scissors shouldn't have sharp objects. You never know what happens. Perhaps
paintings could get destroyed.
You could, what's that? That's that song, Let It Go. Let It Go.
Just let it go.
All right, so we have, let's see, burnt umber. I think that was a color that we're always fond. That's a good tree color. So if I can find that somewhere, probably could find it. What do you think? You're going, well, where are your paints that you're not finding these things?
I had those. I won't go there. Won't even bother.
Yeah, I know.
Why do I bother?
Keep the peace, baby. Keep the peace. Here we go.
Look at those two. Wait. Could you hold that tube there just for a half a second? Okay. Do you think we share a toothpaste? No, we don't. Do you know why? Need I say more? I don't think so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, that still has a cap on.
Yes, it does. And that's probably how you should normally do it, Put the cap on, then take it off. And then, because we're getting down to the end of this, see? So,
Times are getting tough.
Times are getting tough here. We're just...
Well, the 40,000 paintings we did this
times are getting tough.
last
Okay,
month.
so now...
Are we ready?
No, I have paint all over my hands now.
Oh, that's a surprise.
This is so messy. Here.
Yeah, you're going to discuss the colors one more time, run through them?
Yes, we have
down?
white, transparent mixing white or zinc white, yellow oxide, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, magenta, phthalo green, ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and dazzling purple, and we're looking for phthalo blue.
I was going to say, where's phthalo blue?
I give up. Where's phthalo blue?
He's supposed to go underneath the phthalo blue label.
Well, you know what? again, your astuteness just never ceases to amaze me. 'Cause
I
you
know.
just know stuff. I mean,
do.
Who knows stuff? Just ask. Everybody says just ask John. So I pile around looking for things. You hear this rumble in here. You know, there used to be a phthalo blue, and there was colors here. Back in the good old days of phthalo blue, phthalo turquoise. I guess we're going to go with that. There we
Phthalo
go.
turquoise?
Guess we'll do that.
Ooh, pretty
There.
color.
Pretty color.
Pretty color.
Okay. Now, all right. So everybody's happy. Okay. So we're going to start with here's the secret. When you're doing a background, a landscape, start with the background. So we kind of did here where we know where we want the sky. We already have an 8x10 canvas that's already been pre-painted blue. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with white and a little tiny bit of ultramarine blue and a little tiny bit of the phthalo blue, not very much. I'm going to make this pretty sky color. All right, that's nice. So really mix that well. Just mix. Okay, because acrylics dry darker. And we're going to put a little bit more ultramarine blue in that. There we go. And I want to come along here like this. This is pretty easy. You know I'm just kind of leaving this line where the tree goes, right? You know you've got a tree right here. So we'll just leave that here kind of like this. We'll leave a little space for this tree. We don't have to come down very far with it, but we can always cover up with greenery. We'll do something like this. And let's start with our sky color. Like that. Because again, most of this is green, but we'll do that like this. And let's take a little bit more of the transparent mixing white and say as we come down here, we want this a little lighter. The horizon is always a little lighter, you know, than at the bottom. In other words, the bottom toward the land is always a little lighter than the top. Okay, so there's my light blue, yeah?
Perfect.
So that's pretty, yeah? So, what else could I do with this color? Well, probably not too much. This is probably about it, right? So let's take a little bit of burnt umber and mix in that, like that. Just take a little of that burnt umber color, just mix it into that blue color. And I think what I'm going to do is just put in my trees here. So here's a tree. Remember, your trees are fatter at the bottom than they are at the top. I think we had one doing this. I just kind of missed putting that one in, but there we go. So we're just going to lightly put these in like that. They don't go all the way down, touch our bridge. They actually don't. And then we got a few back here. But this is a good way to just sort of sketch in a couple trees. And these, you want these kind of leaning in. You don't want lines taking your eye off the canvas, okay? So, all right, that was easy, yeah? So these are kind of our just fast little underpainting stuff that we're doing. Now what else could we do? So we've got a lot of white on the brush. So we could take a little bit of dazzling purple and a little bit of white. Now we've got this little more white. Now we've got this sort of off-white purple color. And let's just come over here, the bridge, and let's just do our first layer of bridge. Can do this. See, you were thinking this looked hard, weren't you? We're going to come up here like this and end it here. Remember, we drew it in pretty well. Now I'll reshape the brush. Just come in here like that with my little posts. Okay. There's a post here. I don't know if we'll see it. There's one here like that. And then just going to wipe the brush off. I'm not going to rinse it. I'm just going to get some burnt umber and a little dazzling purple. And I'm going to say this whole space in here between the, I think I can put my railing back in. So I'm just going to erase that line, even though I could put the railing back in pretty easily. If you don't think you can, then just take a smaller brush and paint around it. We're going to paint this a dark brown. I like to do this stuff so you don't lose your, I mean, this is your bridge is your main subject, and you don't want to lose that, right? Take a little more purple here and just say, here's the inside of this here, and here's the inside of this part of the bridge. Let's come down like that and just put it here like this. So that's that's pretty easy, right? So now, actually, we needed to stop this bridge right here this is where it needed to stop. So I'm going to take some phthalo green and white, a little bit of phthalo green, and I'm going to come right up here and paint over the top of that, because that's where the bridge has to stop, right here. This is all going to be green here. All right, so now I know that my bridge stops right there. Okay, so you didn't get too far with it. Rinse the brush. Take a little bit of the purple and the brown, and let's come along here like this and make a couple rocks along our edge of our stream. Kind of, here's a couple, and we'll do a little space. Here's a rock. I'm using just the, here, make sure it comes down like that. Here's a rock here. Okay, and here's a little bit of a, kind of a dark line like that where our stream's going. That's all we're going to see here. Yeah. And we've got, this comes like this. Now, I mean, this is all pretty good, right? So let's just come up a little bit higher here with our arch. There we go. Got a little bit lower. Okay, so now what? Well, I think I want a little dark line right here too. Like this. There we go. Right there under the bridge. So see what we've got. See what, so far, pretty easy, yeah? Now, let's flatten this brush out and say, well, okay, so I know I want a dark side to this tree. The light's begun this direction, so I'm going to say this side of the tree is a little darker. It's had a chance to dry. So we're going to do that. This tree has had a chance to dry a little bit, okay? And this tree here was a little bit larger. I had a bigger tree here, and it was a little darker, so I'm going to just make this whole tree a little wider right here. I want this one a little bit fatter. And then I'm going to say, here's this tree, and these are a little bit lighter. We'll make these lighter later and thinner. All right, so there's a big tree there. So now what? Okay, still on the same brush, right?
And what brush is that? Is that the
This
5/8?
is just the 5/8 inch. That's the kind of my go-to brush. All right, so I'm going to take a little ultramarine blue and a little green, and we're just going to come in here like that, maybe a tiny bit of white. We're going to come here, ultramarine blue and a little bit of green, phthalo green. Let's just come on in here, and I'm going to just wipe this off. This would have been mixed a little bit better, a little more green in that, right? Let's just put in our, come along sideways here. Keep the brush strokes going back and forth like this. And let's just say this is our stream. Now, as we, just a little bit of, this is a little phthalo green, a little bit of ultramarine blue. So we're putting in our darks. We always put your dark colors in first, right?
Why is that?
Because that's just how acrylics, that's just how you paint with acrylics. Start with the darkest colors first, and unless you're doing portraits, and then keep going. So we're just, then you lighten up from there. Because once it gets real light, it's very hard. You know, just watercolor's the opposite. So if you're a colorist, there's a tendency to want to do it differently.
Yes,
Now,
there
I
is.
want to do, I'm going to take some yellow oxide and just come over this water like this and just let it kind of mix in there. So you kind of mix the color on the canvas. Just do a little bit of that. That's pretty. All right, so far so good? Yeah, you're going good? Now, what else we got? Well, let's take some of that green and ultramarine blue, and let's make all this very dark. You're going, really? Yeah. Honestly, we're going to make all this really dark in here, but not get up too close. We're just staying about like this. So we know this area is going to be dark. I won't get too close to the bridge, but I know I need this dark in here. And I'm going to need this dark around here. And we're going to keep coming up this way. And this is going to be dark. The back behind my bridge. And this tree is going to be smaller, so this is darker up here. Now, you can't go too far, but you know, this has to be dark, so you might as well, look, you've mixed these colors, so you might as well start with your darkest colors and get them in, see? This is all dark up here on this area. And then over on this side, we have a little bit of a trail like this. And then behind the trail, here's our green. Let's put a little yellow oxide with that now, with our brush. We're going to come up here like that and just come right next to this tree. This is how you can reshape a tree when you're doing something like this. I come about halfway up, and say, here's my green background. So if you got to get in the darkest foliage first, and then you from there, you see on this side, we're going to come up like this, get the darkest foliage in, and then you can ad-lib a bit, okay? So now I've got, if I put a little bit of white and yellow on my brush, right? All right, same, now what's happening? My brush is dirty, so basically I've put in where my little trail is, like that, see? So there's my little trail, and if I, a little more green here, and then back underneath the bridge, I want to make sure we've got our arch a little better than we had it. There's our, it's not as bright as this side of the trail, but there's definitely a light green in here. I'm going to go right up like that. Say, so you're going, so what you do, and I guess what I'm saying is, so what you do is you sort of lay out a pattern of your colors. That's what I want you to do, is lay out this pattern of the colors, which we sort of did, right? You're going to lay them out, and then we're going to work them in. For instance, this light green color could be very pretty if we just put a little yellow on her, because this is still wet. I can do a few little, just some yellow right here in the water, going a few little streaks, and I can get some reflections going, just like that. And maybe right up here like this, let's take a little bit of white and say that here's right along here like this, be underneath the bridge, and then right along my path, I might say this is going to be a little golder, like this, okay? So as you look at colors, ask yourself, where else can I put this color? And still, you know, and is it the right time to do it? And when do I dry? So this is about as much as you can do with a large brush like this. What we could do possibly, and I'm going to rinse it, is make a gray. Let's take this, take a little magenta and a little bit of ultramarine blue and some white, okay? And a tiny bit of brown. Just put it in there. A little magenta, ultramarine blue, and white. Now, I've wiped the brush off. I'm going to come here like this, using the sideways of my brush. And I'm going to just add the lights to my trees, like that. Just tap that in there. Because this is the light side's coming here, thanks. And then we're going to say, here's this tree right here. If you're worried, dry it. If you don't think it's going to work, if you're just a little worried, you could add a little bit of more ultramarine blue if you wanted a little bit more of a blue-gray. Kind of over here. Say there's our tree. Make sure we've got the brush nice. Okay, so we're saying that's that tree. Maybe we want to lighten something up over here. So add some more white to that and say I want this to be a little bit lighter in a couple places. Now, do you see how you're layering? I think that is the one thing you want to really get down when you're painting with acrylics, and it's hard to do that without a good brush. And John and I are very fond of some guys that, you know, they don't pay me to say this, but they support me for saying it. In other words, they support you and I. If you want a 5% discount on your entire order, you just use my name, Ginger Cook. That's thebrushguys.com. They sell all brands of brushes. I have a teacher's page. My daughter Cinnamon has a page with some of the art chipper brushes. Whatever your go-to brush is, they probably have it. They don't care. They'll still give you 5%, and they ship globally. And I tell you what, while we have an affiliate store, like Dick Blick on our website, we have an affiliate store. And what that means is we'll have a page on our website where we've been meaning to do this. By the time this video airs, we should have that done, where you can find, you know, products that we buy from Dick Blick. And that's all very well and good. And sometimes they get stuff on sale. But I prefer, when I can, buying my brushes from the Brush Guys, simply because they have good prices all the time.
And they're just like us.
And they support all of us YouTubers. They appreciate the fact that you care about you care about your products, and you want a good price, and you like to be acknowledged as a, you know, as someone that, you know, has some power to buy things. right? So here's my rocks here. I'm going to just go on the top. The rocks are dark underneath. And I'm just taking this brush and adding some of this light color on top and maybe a little bit of this light color in the water. Okay, like that. We're not getting too crazy with the water like that. We're just saying there's some water and there's another little rock over here too, which we'll just add. Say there's another little rock on this side. So we've got some, now it's starting to take shape. Kind of like our painting with the golf course. We
that
still
was a
have one
great
of those.
lesson.
You want to grab that, John, too? If you can, if you think about it. I want to show the golf course.
Oh, they're way on the other side.
Those were, the originals were auctioned off, but, so they're, actually by the time you air this, they're long gone. But this was another really terrific video on YouTube. If
That was
you
a
have
great
not,
lesson.
If you haven't seen this and you like bridges and water, you might like this. I'm going to do something a little dark under the bridge here while he's doing that. Right there, put a little dark. My little shadow. Okay, so far so good. It's amazing what you can paint. You don't have to get in a hurry. It's amazing what you can paint when you layer. I just can't say enough about it, and I'll show you that golf course painting in a minute. So we're going to switch brushes and get into a smaller size brush. I think I'll just mist my paints here too. That's a little fine water mist. Windex bottles are not a fine water mist. If you're going to mist your paint, make sure it's fine mist. Okay,
That's the one you did live, and this is the designing one.
Yeah. So here's here's our golf course. It's all been varnished. Look at how beautiful the colors. Look at the difference between a painting that's been varnished and hasn't been varnished. Do you see how the colors are so much brighter?
Maybe not, because I can't see what we're doing yet.
Well, I can see it. Well, that doesn't
Well,
help.
these people need to know because they got to back the
But I'm just saying that you want to make sure you varnish your paintings.
One, to protect them, and two,
because it brings the color back. So
brings
there's
the color out great.
You see, again, these all this stuff goes. We have a theme going here, gardens and flowers and stuff. And not the only thing we do, but boy, if you like that, you can really make a collection. All right, we're changing brushes. This is a 1/2-inch angle. I'm going to dampen it. And we're going to start to put in some of the background foliage. All right, so one of the things I want to do is make a green. So we're going to take yellow and phthalo blue, make kind of a nice green, put a tiny bit of magenta in it. All right, and I'm going to come up here like this. This is our brighter greens, and I want to just suggest there might be some foliage and stuff up here. Kind of right over the sky, like that, kind of come behind it, like that.
Remember, you want your birds to be able to fly through.
Yeah, birds should be able to fly through your trees. It's one of the things. And some of this foliage is going behind it. It's coming up this way. We're going to just suggest using just the point of the brush. And let's make this a little darker. A little ultramarine blue will sort of darken it. That'll be our darkest green here. Let's put that down in here like that. Have some of this darker colors always kind of go underneath, right? So that's our first bit of dark green, and then we're going to come up here, and the trick is to make these tiny little miscellaneous plants. You don't have to talk about them if you're keep it a little bit vague, kind of dark. And remember, wherever there's a light, there's a dark, so we want to go around this bridge. Come on down here, kind of in a V pattern. Come up a little higher with this tree. I think I'll even have less of this tree showing than before. Come up this way. And while we're doing this, John and I are on the trip of a lifetime. We are traveling in...
well, right now, we should be doing the New England run.
We're doing the Canada and New England, but we were just in Japan. And I said, you know, we've got to just... Even though that the Japanese gardens tend to be a bit more formal than the garden, this is the kind of garden I grew up with in Washington State, so I have probably more of a tendency to paint this kind of landscape. It's kind of the gardens that I remember. But that being said, Japanese gardens tend to be a bit more formal than this, but this is definitely a Japanese bridge, and I think that you could agree that this is really a nice one to paint. And this is, you can see where I'm kind of just going around our bridge here that we've kind of saved. See, It was important to save that, right? We'll come on up here and say you want to say that there's some foliage up between the skin. You know, you have some that are up there at the top of the canvas, not just at the bottom. You want to indicate that there might be some stuff happening that's not readily obvious. How's that? That's up there above. So you put that in too. So you have these little bits of light blue showing through. Now you start with your darkest colors of green. You know we've given you the cheat sheet. We told you that the light is coming from the right, yes? It's coming, or from the left, coming this way, yeah? So if you're not sure, if you didn't quite get the dark the way you want it, you can come back here in a couple places and add some more dark to your trees. You remember, you can, you've got options, okay, like that. So you can put some few more darks to the trees. Now they won't at this point show up. And the reason being for that is that the dark tree and the dark green are too close to the same value. So what we mean by value is if we made this a black and white picture, which we did, as you'll recall, right? Here was a black and white picture, and of course, you know, you can see how dark the background is and how dark the brown is. So unless you add some light, your trees would just be invisible. Yeah, you have to start changing greens. And the other thing that's a bit deceptive is that acrylics dry darker. So you think you've done it, and then you go back in an hour and look at it, it seems a little darker than you wanted. All right, so let's add a bit of yellow oxide to that. Let's mix that about 50%. And let's bring up a lighter green now. So we're going to say that up here, I'm using just the tip of the brush, coming on top. So the lighter colors generally on top. I'm going to say that there's some lighter greens coming up this way, maybe down into here. I think I want a little more phthalo green in that and just a little bit of white. All right, so here's my lightest. I've got some lighter green even still, like that, coming in down into this foliage, like that. And we'll come on over here next to our bridge. We're going to lighten all this up. A little yellow oxide in that, kind of warm that up. We're going to come all the way over here like this. And down, let's see, how about down into here? Yeah. Let's put some lighter foliage coming up this way. A little bit more of the phthalo green. Maybe it's a little phthalo blue. Let's try that. Let's just get some lighter blue greens here. A little bit of yellow. Learn how you can mix your greens. If you watch this, we are mixing a ton of greens in this, even though we're using phthalo green as a is the main mixture. We're still adding either yellow oxide, magentas. We're adding colors to this. We're making light greens and dark greens, and we're adding colors, and we're starting to build our layers of paint. So we're going to say this is a bit lighter in here, some sort of bush coming down like that. And maybe I want to come in front of this one and say this is lighter. I know that I want it kind of greener under here. For me, it's almost easier to put the poles back and just, rather than paint around it, but here you go, like that. Okay, here we go. Just paint around these poles like that. So there's our green. Now, do we have enough dark green areas somewhere? Do I need to bring some more dark this way? Does it need to be a little bit darker back here? You can come back and change. I mean, you're not stuck with just one. If you get too big of an area that's too light or too dark, then add a light or a dark. That's just pretty much as easy as it gets. And I think at this point, we're going to take some of this green. I'm going to lighten it up. A little yellow, white and yellow oxide, okay? And I think I want to have even a little bit lighter green in my water here, maybe like that. Just 1, 2, 3, stop. And a little yellow oxide and white. Brush is still dirty. I'm going to come up here on my path and do that. Remember how light that was a minute ago, and then it kind of turned darker? So we kind of lighten up that path. let's take yellow and cad red medium. Let's make some bright orange foliage. Okay? So if I added some magenta to that, I can make this darker color underneath. Let's start here with the darker reds down in here, and I'm just tapping this on. Tap, tap, tap. Maybe over here, this is our next layer of color. And I didn't dry anything, so it's going to turn a little bit more brown because that wet green is going to interact with this red and turn this red a little bit darker than it was. This is our darkest colors. A little bit of this dark over here. I think we put a little tiny bit up in here, just suggested there might be some of this in the background, like that. Okay? And then I wiped the brush off and I put a little bit in here like this. I just came down with my brush and just said, here's a bit of orange kind of reflected in the water like that. We're not doing a lot of water reflection, but we're doing some. Okay, what's our next color? Yellow in this. Remember, lights on top. See what I'm doing here? Lights are on top. The woods are coming up here like this. We're going to come in front of this tree, make it a little bit shorter, and tap in another bush right in here like this. Just using the tip of the brush, little dots overlapping. Don't use a big brush for this, it won't work. And as long as we're doing that, right next to this bridge right here, let's get some bright colors. So you're thinking, wow, this is just, doesn't look too hard. It really isn't. They just can't be polka dots. These are not stars or on a flag or polka dots. They all touch. This bit of yellow touches this bit of yellow, and I can see they all kind of merge in there. So this one is touching this one. I've got maybe a brighter orange over here. And I can just, it's because this is still wet, I can mix some colors in here and say that's brighter. This is a bit brighter. Maybe I'll just do a little bit there. There's not a lot of orange, but there is kind of on this side of the bridge right here. I did a little bit here, a little bit of yellow and orange foliage growing up in here like that. And that sort of brings it back out. So
Looking good. Starting to get some color into it now.
you're starting to get the colors, and it's all layers. Now I'm rinsing the brush. Might want to come back up here, and I'm looking at this thinking I might want to come back into the greens and darker greens, and maybe make sure I have some dark greens coming up here. Make sure that's looking pretty good. So the sky is peeking through on this side, okay? And it's coming up a little higher here than I did it. I want it up a little higher this way. And it's kind of coming up this way. So you're just seeing a little bit of sky peeking through the painting, which is nice. So you're just seeing a little bit of that. And if some of your blue shows through, that's fine. One thing about it, like I say, you know, you can lighten it up. We could lighten it up if we wanted, but I'd have to dry it a lot first. All right, so now that we know that, what can we do next? Let's just let this dry for a minute. Let me show you a trick. Let me just show you something, okay? Let's take a minute. I want to show you something. So I want to show you this because I think that, remember I showed you these two paintings that look so beautiful with this. Remember? I showed you these. Let me show you a few more. Because if you're thinking about what would you paint if you were in the academy, if you imagine over 400 tutorials and probably about 15 or 20 of these are garden pieces. Now look, this is the Michigan house. Look how this could be part of the yard. See how that could go with this painting. Here's, I guess that was garden house. This is Michigan house. Look at this. See how these go? These paintings all go together. We had a really great tutorial not long, a couple years ago, and this is still one of our popular videos. This is this garden tea party. And again, these paintings all,
could go right with
they
that
just group, right?
That can complete a whole story right there.
That can complete a whole story. One of my favorite is the gazebo. And look at our gazebo and,
that looks good with that one,
bridge.
too.
And you see how these can go together and become, something that you would really enjoy painting. Oh my gosh, you guys, garden steps. Check this out. Look at that, garden steps. This
That's
is
a favorite one.
one of our favorites. It's really pretty. And again, it's done in this style, this beautiful kind of impressionistic style of gardens. These are all Ginger Cook original paintings. For my birthday a couple years ago, we had this painting, these other step paintings. Could this garden go? You betcha. Yeah, yes and yes.
And I'll have links to all these in the
And
description
we'll have
below.
links to below. We're going to put links below to all these paintings, but you have to be an Academy member to paint them, okay? So here's this was one that we did recently, Rock Garden. And so, you know, you can just you can make this whole collection of art. And this is just a few of them. We have more than this. This is just what I thought I'd take the time to show you. All these paintings that you can do in this style. So, and these tutorials are all included in your monthly membership at gingercooklive.gallery. And they come with professional art coaching. Here's another one, garden bench, sort of a close-up of a garden, maybe. Boy, you can do a whole wall of these, which we thought was really nice. We call it series, and I think it's my favorite. So I wanted to just make sure that I shared those with you. Gave this time to dry. See, I mean, honestly, how fun is that? So if you guys are loving that kind of stuff, give yourself a treat and join for just tell us you want to play for a month, see what you can paint. You may decide to stay, and if you join for a year, you get 2 months free. And remember, all memberships come with at this time. There'll come a time when they won't, because we'll be too full to do personal art coaching. But at this time, your prices are grandfathered in. If we go up in price at the first of the year, as long as you never drop out, whatever you started with, we have people that are paying as low as $15 a month. That started with us 5 years ago.
Yep, started with day one.
Day one, and they're still getting that price. So as long as you don't drop out and don't drop your membership, you're grandfathered in to personal art coaching and the price that you sign up at. So I think that's kind of cool. All right, so we're still painting with this.
You dry enough over there?
I think we're dry enough where we can keep going.
All right.
And I just wanted to show you that, right? Because I think this kind of stuff is, you know, this is what we're about. John and I are traveling to get more ideas for paintings and do all kinds of stuff. And we're able to do that because we work 365 days a year, right? And we can do a little work on the ship. We don't just take vacations. We just go somewhere and still do what we do. So see this light color I'm mixing over here on the palette?
It's kind of like a lime.
Like a lime. If you add just like a drop, like less than 1% of magenta, you make it, you gray it. So if I wanted to say that there's some gray, here's some just gray, lighter trees here, tree limbs like this, okay, and just in the background I've sort of got this light green. Might even put that somewhere here, but I've got this light green color. I might say I've got a little bit more white in that. Here we go, mix, mix, mix. I want a little bit of some light green bushes right there in the front. Just tap them in. Okay, and I had a few here. And maybe if I put a little yellow oxide in that, now you see how I keep changing the yellows, but I might put something right here. Maybe I've got a little bush that's going to be here, maybe over here. Here's some lighter bushes in this area. Because remember, wherever there's a dark, there's a light, so we're going to say some of these are a lot lighter. As we start layering in our woods, okay, like that. And I think what we're missing is the rocks. I think I got those a little small. That one brush was a little big to do them. So let's do a couple rocks. A little brown and purple here and white. Okay. All right, so we're going to say here's our lighter rocks right here. And then I want to make sure I have something dark underneath them, so. Okay, so we're going to just suggest those are a little bit of rocks, and we'll just leave it at that. We need one bit of smaller brush. What do we have? Okay, so we're going to do our bridge now. So I'm now getting a smaller brush. This is a 1/4 inch, okay? So we're doing it with the bridge is going in. Now, what happens? Well, Remember I told you the lines had to be this straight across. So just take some white and burnt umber like that. All right, now if you have to, turn it sideways so maybe it's easier for you to pull it towards you than it is to figure out if you need to turn your painting at an angle. Now as I get up toward the top, these ones on the top are very light. Okay, this is these are my lightest ones right here up at the top, my lightest, and these are my darkest one. And we'll put some of these in shadow in a minute, but I'm just going to put those in like that, and then we're going to take some white paint and a little tiny bit of purple with it, maybe some magenta and white and purple, and let's see, let's put a tiny bit of yellow oxide with that, a little bit more white. This is sort of this grayed, maybe some ultramarine blue. Let's kind of gray this color like that. Now we're going to say that there's our, okay, this is our top of our bridge, and we're going to, that's our first, these are our underpainting colors, okay? So we've got one here like this. I have one up here like that, another post straight up and down, okay? Now I'm just going to pinch off my brush and add a bit of light paint. Here's some white right like this. And I think I want one here too, right like this. Pinch your brush. That's how you get it straight, kind of thin this out. Now let's just come up like this. This kind of, the curve stops here. You don't see it because of the perspective. You don't see it over here, but you see it on this one. So if you're not sure about how this is going to work for you, dry it, because you want to follow the same curve as the bridge and say this is your railing coming here like this, coming down. Okay, so there's our rail on the bridge. Well, then I'm going to just lighten up the bridge a little bit, like that. And lighten up our rail a bit. Okay? So pretty much, that's a pretty easy way to get that bridge in. Now when it dries, you know, I almost need to go over it again when it dries. Okay, because the white is, you know, remember it's kind of getting darker on me. I want this to kind of be a light bridge, and we'll just come underneath here like this. Say there's the inside of this bridge right here like that. Bring it down. Okay, so let's do a little bit of light on top of these rocks. All right, we've got some light there. Now I like how this kind of, I mean, you guys think this looks really complicated, and it's just not that. Just don't stress too much on this, okay? Try not to stress at all. Try to just get into the zone, get into the art zone. Try not to stress, right? So, like for instance, if you think you've got your rails are too fat, maybe you think you could have done them thinner, right? Well, that's okay. Just come back with the green, make a green color, and if you got, you know, if you thought you got your rails too fat or they just don't show up, just come back and thin them up, right? You know how to do that. You just, you know, pick the color that they're next to, and thin it up. Okay, put a little of this green in here like that, right? So don't sweat the small stuff, you guys. And if you need a little bit of a darker shadow on the rails, come back and do it. Just put it in there. A little bit darker shadow. And see, I know I want some light right here. Here's where where I'm missing the light is right here on this part of the bridge. And again, I want it a little bit lighter going across here like this. So I need my rails in here. Okay, so now let's put the flowers in, and we're getting there, right? Pretty easy, huh? You're kind of surprised yourself, aren't you, John? How
I
fast?
am
Because
very surprised how
it takes a
quickly.
while to design these, but not very long to paint them. How's that? So I need a little bit brighter color here. Want a little bit brighter, a few little lighter highlights in this one. Because remember, my colors are getting darker. And I need some greens in this area. So let's take some darker greens first. And we had some, but let's put a little more yellow with them. We had some darker greens, but I want a little bit darker in here like this. Because we're really not going to show you this part of the bridge. You don't even see this one, by the way, in the picture. You just see this one. Let's see, let me just fix that. There you go. There's the inside of the rail there, like that, which is in shadow. So you just see that, and then you see this. This is the greenery that's here. So this is our first kind of green color here. This is our darker undergreen color. And you can see I'm just kind of mixing here like that. Now I've got my bridge. I'm going to just come in here like this and just tap this green on like this. Just kind of over this darker color until I get down to about here. Okay? And now that I know where everything's going, I can come up a little farther here on our bridge, okay? Kind of neat. All right, so now what? So let's put in some of the magenta, a little bit of white and magenta, and let's say right up in here, just dot them in here. We've got a few little magenta flowers right up in this area, not too many. And then over here, we're going to do magenta and cad red medium. Remember, we had some brighter red flowers here. They disappeared, but we're going to put them back. See how they just, remember how they did, you saw me put them, and they just disappeared, so we're going to put these red ones back like that. There we go. And I want a little bit of this red in my garden here.
That'd be the water.
In the water, that's it.
Okay, it could be a water garden.
Water garden. That's right. It's water, okay?
Water garden.
And I'm going to take a little bit of red and make an orange color. And I had a little bit of yellow oxide with that. And I've got these kind of, this is my next coat of light color. It's interesting. I think what happens to you guys when I see your paintings, they're posted on Facebook. If you haven't joined our Facebook club, it's a blast. And you've got such a lovely group of artists. We're very, very careful to screen the paintings that get posted so that you're not shocked. And also, the comments have to be nice or they're removed. And if somebody's really ugly, they get kicked out of the club because we want you to have a safe environment, something fun and encouraging to where to be. And so I think you'd love our Facebook club. So I'm going to come up here like this and just add just a few of these orange bushes back. Maybe it's in front of this tree here. Just a few back in here like that. Just here it is. We're not talking about it too much, but there is something going on there. Let's put a little bit of this color back under the bridge here like that, in the water, like that. Put a little bit right here. There we go. Okay. So, we've got this. We've got the orange. We may want to brighten. Do we want to brighten anything up? If you want to brighten something up, add more yellow. Okay, so if your orange isn't bright enough, and the closer things are to you, the brighter the colors. So let's just say these colors here are going to be brighter. Okay, I had kind of a bright one there too, but Basically, I want these ones on the first few steps of the bridge to be a bit brighter. Now, I'm going to take a moment and dry all of this. John's going to show you some other wonderful things you may not know. And we'll finish this up. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. Here we go.
Okay, run.
So that's why people say you guys should have a camera with you 24 hours a day, always constantly running.
Well, you should run that and ask me that again. I think we could add this, right? Run the camera again.
Camera's running. What am I saying?
Well, John, I think we got to welcome people to our Facebook club. You know, because we're getting the word's getting out. People really, I tell you, I'm looking at John here. Maybe I'm looking at you, but I'm looking at John. John, we've got to be telling people how much we appreciate the fact they joined our club. What a neat place it is to be. Don't you think that's a great idea?
I think it's a great idea.
Do you know how I know that it's a great idea?
How do you know it's a great idea?
Because brilliance happens in this room. See ya. Bye.
The Queen's wave.
The Queen of Color is waving. Bye.
Bye. What do you expect it to do?
I don't know. Did you stop it?
Should I stop it?
Probably so. Bye.
Bye. How many byes you going to give us?
Till you turn off the camera, sweet cakes.
How do you know it's not on? How do you know it's on?
I don't know.
So you can be sitting over there being a total fool.
Well, I don't have to have the camera on to do that. Bye.
Bye-bye. Are you through?
Yeah, bye. Did you turn it off?
Like Well, I hope that brightened your day.
Oh, good. I hope it did too. As you can tell, John and I have a lot of fun together, and
We're nothing but serious here.
so you know we have a lot of fun, and hope you're having fun too. All right, we dried this, so now we're going to add. Remember the farthest things first, so we're going to add these light green leaves and flowers, and then the magenta, and then the blue ones, and then some of these grasses. Okay, and then we'll come around and just double check our lights and darks again, see how we did. Yeah.
So you're just going to be in that lower left corner?
Left over here for now. So we're going to start with a little bit of white and yellow and a little bit of phthalo green. Okay. Make that kind of, and I want it more yellow, so let's put more yellow in it. Okay. And a tiny bit of cad red in that, just to tone it down. So if that's, I want this pretty, kind of an olive, very light olive green, kind of a lime green. So I'm using just the back of my brush, and I'm dotting in some little plants here. I'm suggesting
When you say the back of your brush, you're talking about the toe
the
part.
the toe part. Yeah, just dotting in maybe some that are coming out this way by the brush, kind of leaning out over the water, and just dotting in these like that. I'm not talking too much about them. I could put a little bit more yellow with these if I wanted to, brighten up a couple. Here, if I'm going to do that, then I'll just go pure yellow because this is wet, and just dot up a couple like that. This yellow will tone down once it sort of mixes with the wet green. So I'm going to say this is some of my brighter stuff right here. Okay, and why? Because it's close, yeah? So I'm going to say there's my lighter color. Now, green and red are complements, and so what does that mean to you as an artist? Why do you even care? People keep talking about that. Well, because complementary colors are the ones that are directly across each other on the color wheel, say like this. So here's red, here's green, see what I mean? So what that means to you is this: if you put red over wet green, you get a muddy color. Green,
Guaranteed.
guaranteed. So then this is where drawing can pick. You have to either be very careful and just drop it and pick up and drop it and pick up, and like Russian roulette, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Or you've got to dry your green. This is, I'm going to play Russian roulette. I'm going to suggest you dry your green before you do this next step. Is that a fair assessment?
I think so, because this is live TV.
That's like it. So we're going to start with our darkest color of magenta and get it on both sides of the brush. And just come on up here like this brush is too big. Where did I get that one? All right, start again. Make sure that for sure you have to have. Make sure all the green is off your brush. Now we're going to start back up here with this, and we're going to just dot in, rather than brush it on, we're dotting it on over this darker green like that. Make sure you don't have any water droplets. I'm going to come in here like that and just dot this on. I'll put a little bit of this color up here too. I thought we needed a little bit more than we had here. Maybe even over here we'll put a little bit of this color. I feel like these plants over here just kept disappearing. It's okay. If that happens, don't think it's, sometimes people say, well, how can I get brighter colors? If you're not using professional acrylics, chances are this could be very frustrating when you're trying to get colors like this, because they don't have the pigment in them that the professional artists do for the most part. In general, they don't. They're student grade paints. So now I'm going to take white and magenta and make a pink like that. And I'm going to drop right over the top of this and do my lighter colors, because remember the lighter colors are on top. Light's coming from the left. So as it starts to mix, it's going to get darker. So we'll just come on up here like that and say, here's my lighter colors. Tapping it in, kind of dotting it on. Here's some lighter ones coming up this way. Even in here, I'll mix a few of these just into my greens. Say this is my nice group of nice bushes this way. And gosh, what, if we need some more, we can, but those are the lightest colors we've got. Let's just do that up here like that. Okay, so there we go. So this is this nice group of flowers that are in front of this. Now, one thing I do have to do in order to make the path, there has to be some green between here and here. So there has to be green right in this area in order to separate the bridge and the path that we're not seeing from these azaleas going up that way. So there, I'll put that little bit of green right there and then darken it up. There we go. There we go. So there you go. So I'm saying that basically what happened here is that we've got a path that's on kind of this bush is hiding. Okay, so now I'm pretty happy with all of this. I've got a dark green. I want on the path here, I want a little dark green here, kind of this way, and I want to zigzag this like that. Don't make a straight line, zigzag it in here like that. Okay, so that we've got this dark right here, and maybe a little dark right behind here wouldn't be bad. A little dark in here. If nothing's showing up, have fun with the dark colors. Okay, because that's a good thing you can do. You can just go and kind of tweak a few things, just adding a dark color here and there. And a little bit of this green. I want to come all the way up to the top of my arch here with the green. There we go. With this, I'm going to come all the way up here like that, the top of the arch of the bridge. And is there any green we want to put in here like that, as long as we've got a little green? Well, I think we're okay, but let's take a little bit of phthalo blue and white, okay? And let's add a little bit of that color to the water. Just come on across like this. Just sort of sweep some in here like that. You don't have to do much, kind of keep it dark down here, but a little bit of that color in the water, that's pretty. Just a little bit of light here, okay. We're just going to play with that a little bit. All right. And let's see, I want some dark green over, here was the dark blue. Let's get some dark green over this way. Phthalo blue and phthalo green. Let's just get this. I had some pretty dark colors right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring this all over now to the edge of our river, little stream. Okay? Okay, now, here's where we're going to get tricky. We're going to take some white and phthalo blue, okay, and maybe some ultramarine blue. First, we're going to start with ultramarine blue. We're going to come up here like this and add some ultramarine blue. We had a little light blue on one side and a little ultramarine blue on the other side of the brush. We're going to dot in these ultramarine blue plants right here like that. Just dot those in, and then keep coming back with the, oops, too big a glob of paint. Way too big a glob of paint. There we go. Just dot that in. There's a little light on my brush too, okay? Now I'll come back over here with just the phthalo blue and white and say that I've got some lighter flowers coming up this way. The darker ones are underneath, and the lighter ones are on top like that. I'm just going to say there's something, something growing along here like that, and maybe some dark green in this area with a little bit of yellow oxide. We can add that. That's pretty. Let's tap. I didn't do that in the first one, but I think it needs it. So we're doing that in this one. Okay. So we've got this little group of flowers. Now, mostly, as I see this, the red flowers are kind of tipping over here to the edge. So let's come back here with with these. Let's get another little row of these going up here like this. Maybe bring this down a little bit further than we had it originally. Never hurts, right? Just expand on these, yeah. Now I think what I need to do before I put my grass in is dry everything again. All right, I need to dry this corner, all right? John?
Yep. Got you covered. And go.
Hi. When John Little and I first got together, he was in Michigan and I was in Houston. We started the Academy of Fine Art and Acrylic Painting about 4.5 years ago. And our goal was to take people who'd never painted before and really show them the basics that you needed, the foundation of acrylic painting, all the way up to the highest level of something you might find in a museum. And I've got to tell you that the artists that have been with us for this, even just a couple of years, are painting things you wouldn't believe. Started out painting party, very simple art. Maybe that's why they got interested, and now they've come over to the Academy through the aid of personal art coaching. I'm telling you what, you won't believe all the wonderful reasons why you want to become an Academy member, but most of all, it just takes the Groundhog Day out of painting. Because if you're making the same mistakes over and over again every time you paint, it's got to be a little frustrating. Let's get better every time we paint. Come join the Academy.
And we're back.
All right, this is what's called a dagger brush.
Wait a minute, you're out of my view. I'll move. All right, there we go.
It's a 1/4 inch dagger brush. It's by Silver. It's a Bristol on dagger brush. It is the most wonderful brush to do these grasses. So you want to start with a damp brush and some light green color, like this. Maybe put a little phthalo blue in it. And you want it slightly damp. So I'm going to make a little puddle of water right there. I want a little bit of water on it, but not too much, okay? And I want to come up here, starting here, using the tip. I'm going to push and lift, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, there's some grasses coming out of here. Then let's change the color a little bit. Let's just change the color of the grass, and maybe we've got some darker blue ones coming this way. Just some sort of grass, and now I'm going to take some white and yellow and make a lighter color and just get some of that water that's right there. I want to say that I want some grass growing down in long strokes. If it's not going exactly the way you want it, reshape it and get a little bit more water on the brush like this, and just start and lift up. I want some grass coming like this, all in kind of fun little patterns like this, and then go into your white color and then mix it again. Okay, that's your first darker color, yeah? That's the first layer. Then you've got some lighter grass coming on top of that in a different direction, please. Okay, that's doing this. So you want to cross over some of those ones that you just did and allow for some lighter ones to be growing out here like that. Okay? So that is your grass.
Looks good
Very
too.
nice for tree limbs too. A marvelous brush for that. I never found one. So I got to give it to Cinnamon. I'd never used a dagger brush before, and she found it, and it is great. And if you really need a nice sharp, line like this, like right up here. Suppose I need just a little bit better, line here. Let's put our railing back here like that. Okay. And I'm not getting quite what I want. I can come right up on the top of this. Let me just get this a little lighter here, and then I'll come over it like that. Say like this, and you really can really get some nice kind of distant detail with it. How's that? Does that make sense? And if you need like a few little dots of color, you can use the back of it like this. Suppose you want a few little dots of lighter color. Just going to go into a little bit of dots, something like that in here in your flowers in a couple places. You can do that too. You can, very versatile little brush. And I want to take a little purple on it now right here and just do this. Just do a little purple swirl here in the water. Okay, like that. And this was a smear from when I dried it. It was too wet, and it kind of
It's smeared.
smeared. So I'm going to just take a little bit of color like this. This is ultramarine blue, makes the best army green, and just come under here like this and suggest this is the swamp part of this, and maybe I'll just take a little lighter color here like that in our water. Nothing too crazy. All right, now what about these light strokes that have to come this way? What about those? How are we doing those? Do we have enough contrast right here on our posts? Like that, make sure we do. Okay. I mean, you can say that that's a post right there if you wanted to. Okay, so let's dry this rail for about 2 seconds, and then I'm going to show you the final step of putting in the light on the bridge. Okay?
Go. Moment of silence.
Okay? Now what we have here is something called mixing white, transparent mixing white. Sometimes it's known as zinc white. And what I want to tell you is that normally when light rays come, there's a space, and they have a tendency to widen as they go down toward whatever they're raying. They have narrower and get wider. And what you can do is you can take an angle brush like this, and here's our mixing white. And let's just put a little tiny bit of water on the brush. Wow, where did that come from? I guess this was in white paint somehow. All right. I want some water over there. Let me just put this over here because it's, all right, a little bit of damp there, a little bit of water, tiny bit of yellow. Okay, that's too much, way too much yellow. So let's go get some more mixing white. I want this mostly white. Okay, if you get it too yellow, it's going to look funny. Now, let's do it on something. Let's take a piece of canvas and just see what I'm going for here. I'm going to wipe most of it off. Let's try it on both sides of the brush. I'm going to wipe most of it off. Let's see. Now, I'm going to want to drag it. More transparent mixing white. This is a little bit older than I like. But you almost have to wipe it off the brush. Now, I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to bring it across here like that. Keep pushing there, right from this corner there to that light. See what I just did? I'm going to do it again. I'm going to come up here in this corner, wipe it off. This angle brush, if you keep flattening it, see how it does this nice wide angle. Isn't that cool? Let's do it again. Put it on the brush, wipe it off. Let's just come up here like this. See, it's coming up this way. These rays coming that way on our bridge. One more time, right down here. There you go, you guys. There's the rays.
That's good.
And then I'll come back with the white. And this is where you might want, this is, you see me use this a lot, golden fluid white, because it has the same viscosity, or how the coverage, the same coverage as regular professional, but if you need something kind of small, sometimes it can be helpful. So I'm going to just lighten these a little bit here like that. Lighten this one. And then we're just going to say that there we go, just this part. I'm going to just say there's my rail. Now, check that out. Is that not cool? So what we've got is this neat little forest with a light ray shining down on our bridge. We've got these flowers, a little bit of a pond, just kind of there, and a wonderful, I think, a marvelous garden. And if you're wondering where I grew up in Washington State. There was a lot of, we had quite a Japanese culture there, and we have even a Japanese garden park. But the way that this is how I remember how our gardens used to look. And not that we had one of these at my house, but this is what I remember most about growing up there. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'm sure you have. It's just been an oversight.
Oh, I'm positive. I'm sure that's all it's been.
But you know what? Here's the number one question I want to ask you, right? The number one question I want to ask you. How do you like our commercials that we put in that are our personal commercials? How do you guys like those? And I'd love to know your opinion in the comments if you like those. And we'd appreciate it when you show us your paintings. I love to see your paintings. If you are an Academy member, you can always get on any of my YouTube tutorials, you can get personal art coaching. And also, we love to see what you're doing as you share the gang with us on Facebook. Follow along on our newsletter, because if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, go to our website, gingercooklive.gallery. Follow along on the newsletter, because we're going to be, our travel blog is
in there.
Is in there. So next week we will be back with a live show in person. Don't miss it. We'll talk a lot about the trip, and probably have even, who knows, there'll be a real show and tell next week. Looking forward to having you join us. Tell your friends, and I'm just going to sign this right here, and I hope you had fun. You guys, you could say goodnight. You know what? These are Posca pens, and you have to really shake them up and pump them. But we've had these for like 2 years. We're so cheap, we never replace them. And also, thanks everybody that did donations on our premiere tonight, that gave donations, either went to the Karen Little Scholarship Fund on our website and donated. The people that, if you're, that we were able to scholarship, came because of your donations, and we certainly appreciate it and all the help you give us. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week, live and in person, 7:30 Central Time, right here on the same YouTube channel you're currently watching, Ginger Cook Live. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so. Hit that like button, and don't forget to hit the little bell. Sammy and Judy, I know you're out there somewhere.
Have you turned this off yet?
Not yet.
I wanted to do one more little thing.
Of course you did. You signed your name. You got to do more.
Well, I got to put the orange slash to it, but I wanted to do a little bit of a brighter. I needed something. I had a little bit of bright one in the other. I lost some of my bright. This will happen to you guys. Go look at your painting the next day. See if you lost a little bright. It's just brightened up there where the sun rays are hitting it. See?
Because they darken.
Because it darkens. And also, you got to varnish your paintings too, because that'll bring the color back. And if
Can you hold your hand up again like you just did?
What?
Flip it over? Okie dokie. Just curious. Nothing in particular.
I'm just saying I'm just putting a little more color here in my pond now because of that. See? have darkened a little bit.
You need to slash your name again too, because that first did not take.
It didn't take. Look at this. Is just so crazy. There you go. Slash the name, right?
It is just so crazy.
And then a little, you know, we did, you know what we should do is a color surprise too. Let's do one. Let's take a little phthalo blue and white, and do a color surprise. Let's do a little color surprise next to some of this orange, right in here. It's kind of weird. Orange is opposite blue on the color wheel, so if you can add a few little drops of that, right, like in here, like that.
It's just magic.
It's just magic. It's really so subtle. People just, you know, they want to understand why it popped, but it will. Your colors will suddenly just get a little brighter than you thought. So fun times. And we learned a lot today, didn't we? We learned about how to use, if you didn't have transfer paper, what you could do and when it works and when it doesn't, and it's okay.
And how to fix it.
And how to fix it. And I got to say before I sign off that I had this experience with this. There was a time when I was teaching directly in person at Jerry's Artorama in Houston. And so I had access to everything they had in the store. And we were doing, one of my students did a big 30 by 40 painting. She was trying to transfer on something that she had drawn. She sketched it herself. Then she was putting her own drawing on, which of course you can do. It doesn't have to be a photograph. It can be your drawing, okay? And it wasn't transferring. And I went and got everything they had. All the transfer paper that they had, they just let me have it. We were trying all the colors. We could not make it work. For whatever reason, the surface of her paint, sometimes if your paint's too thick, it won't transfer. So then we got down to the chalk, and the chalk always works. So, just saying, chalk always works. If you're having trouble, chalk will work.
Okay, well that's good to know, because we had one the other day. We used the projector, which we haven't shown you guys how to do that, and it would not. We couldn't draw on it for the life of us. Nothing would draw on it, on that canvas, because of the underpainting had a gloss surface. I think we used too much GAC 100 on it, because that's very shiny when you do that.
Yeah. So, well, you know what?
We live, we learn, we share.
All right. Thanks, you guys. See you soon. See you next week live. Woohoo!
Are you quite through?
I'm through.